Good morning, guys, and thank you so much for being here. So, yesterday we heard about putting astronauts in space. We heard about poisonous snakes. We heard about dangerous babies, even. And the mayor of Denver took us through how he transformed the city. This panel is going to be something very different. Perhaps not as glamorous, but we're going to talk about margins and really how to drive more margins out of the hotels. And the folks we have up here to do that are the folks who are working behind the scenes. These are the vendors, the solution providers who provide those solutions for up to tens of thousands of operator owners. We're going to talk a little bit about distribution technology. We'll talk about space utilization. We'll talk about AI, in fact, and how to get the most out of your hotel. For those of you that might follow earnings, last week, Wyndham had our earnings call, and our CEO actually spoke to AI. It was pretty incredible to hear how versatile and versed he was in the topic. And we've been using AI at Wyndham really to drive our margins. We've been using it in our call centers to improve our ADR and to improve overall guest satisfaction. So I think as we transition into our conversation, what's the first thing you think of when we have a blind spot or you see hotels with a blind spot on their margins? We'll start with you, Jackie.
Thank you. I'm Jackie DeChamps. I'm Chief Operating Officer for Towne Park, and I also have the pleasure of being their Chief HR Officer. And at Towne Park, we're a tech-enabled, hospitality-focused solution driver of arrival to departure experiences. Everything from valet to self-parking and maximizing that revenue right through to bell and door services. And when I think about a blind spot, for me, it's about going beyond RevPAR. 32% of the revenue that is generated in a hotel comes from non-rooms and is absolutely in those places like parking. And at Towne Park, we're leveraging technology and AI to do things that have never been done before. In over 80 of our locations and of the 2,900 valet full-serve hotels in the country, we operate 1 in 4 of them. And we're using all of that data to actually start using pricing that is dynamic for parking, the same way we do for rooms. Why shouldn't you get the most out of your parking asset when Taylor Swift is in town? You should. It is absolutely a blind spot that we have, that we think that has to be a fixed cost. It isn't about it being charging more. It's about charging the right amount at the time that you need to for the guests that are in the hotel at that moment.
So you see the blind spot as getting more margin out of underutilized space, especially when Tay-Tay's in town.
Absolutely.
Okay, Frank.
So I'm Frank Pitsikalis, Senior Vice President of Product Strategy for Hotels with Agilysys. And I'm going to pick up on your RevPAR, going beyond RevPAR. I think we need to think about revenue per guest. There's so many pockets of revenue within hotels that we spend so much time and tech and money on revenue managing our room rates, but we don't think about our spa, our golf, our dining, our activities, cabanas, all these areas that we should be revenue managing and ensuring we're selling the right service to the right guest at the right price at the right time, right? To Jackie's point with parking as well. So it really is about that maximizing utilization, maximizing revenue and profit in how we adjust. Like let's say your spa menu, adjust it for margin at peak demand, only sell your highest margin services.
Okay, that brings us to Ethan.
I'm Ethan Wiseman. I lead product management for Hospitality Solutions, so formerly Sabre Hospitality Solutions. And, I agree with both of you. I think it's crazy that hoteliers spend a whole bunch of money on their CapEx around building phenomenal facilities and then under leverage those facilities. You also then see an underutilization on the operating expenses side where people are still doing tasks that they shouldn't do. And there's a phenomenal opportunity where it's like, why am I answering emails today to be able to generate revenue, but I'm using my most expensive asset, which is my people and my facilities to be able to do this, right? And then the final thing is ensuring that the expenses you have today are generating optimal revenue for you. So ensuring that your distribution channels are working properly to be able to give you that extra edge.
I wouldn't have thought that you would have brought up distribution, Ethan.
Yeah, I had to, just a little bit.
That was left field right there. So I'm surprised we haven't touched on labor quite yet, Jackie. But when you think about labor optimization, how do you optimize labor but not impact that guest experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, when you're thinking about margin, right, it is not about cutting labor. At Towne Park, we pride ourselves on creating smiles and exceptional experiences. And that really comes from having the right labor at the right place at the right time. So it's the intersection of human and AI. We leverage AI in our recruiting, using recruiting engines that cut our time. Listen, we see 8,000 candidates a month, and we successfully hire 800. We can open a location in 45 days with quality associates, leveraging AI to shorten the hiring process by reviewing candidates, putting schedules directly on managers' calendars so they can do interviews, and work with them on training and onboarding so that they have a more qualitative associate experience. That's one element. The second element is if you want to think about your highest margin asset being parking, 55% margins in valet, 85% margins in self-parking. That comes from really solid middle of the P&L management, and that comes from using workforce management tools that are AI-driven, that write schedules, that put those associates on the drive or at the door at the right moment, that brings in all the resumes and all the technology and everything that we know about what's happening in that market at the moment to provide the right schedule and provide our associates with the opportunity to trade shifts, get pay on demand. That's technology working to increase associate satisfaction, at the same time maximize your margins in having the right labor in place.
So you're using AI more or to optimize that labor, not necessarily to take heads out of the organization, but to get rid of some of the drudgery,
Absolutely.
so to speak. Yeah. Okay. And Frank, earlier you were talking a little bit about beyond the room and how do we optimize beyond the room? I'm wondering if you could expand on that a little bit for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the overall guest experience, right, is how are we merchandising our offerings? How are we allowing the guest to explore everything that the hotel has to offer? So making it easy to book. Everything should be seamless online, and then as well, I think that making a better guest experience. Like, let's say a guest wants to order more towels. They need more towels in their room. Maybe in the app be able to request, more towels. And instead of something having to call the front desk, that get transferred to housekeeping, someone in housekeeping picks it up. Now the guest can order towels, see that, somebody in housekeeping has picked it up, and it's on its way. You've taken out the friction, taken out the human element from those menial tasks of just calling around to make sure things are getting done. Use technology to do that and data. And so I really think it's understanding the guest. We launched something what we call Intelligent Guest Profile. And that is really about having that 360 view of the guest and being able to create scripting at the front desk, at the spa, in the dining room, where you can understand the guest and be able to then, offer, something that's truly personalized to them.
A next best action
Right.
based on what you understand about that guest,
Right.
makes the guest feel good and probably drives more margin as well. Absolutely. So Ethan, when you think about it, where are you seeing hotels leave margin on the table or money on the table in the distribution area?
Yeah, so what I see is that it's the underutilization of assets. For example, if you don't productize your gym, you don't know what the margin is on your gym, right? So if I were to make my gym into a SKU that someone could book or utilize, I can then start to understand what is my true cost and my margin for that SKU. I can then entice people because I have a leading gym in the area relative to my competitors. I can actually get other guests who are not staying at my hotel to come and consume that gym, right? Then I can reinvest it to maintain my market superiority. So I believe that your ability to be able to productize your entire property, all of your assets, all of your services, allows you to drive out that margin. You'll also notice that I said a service that we can provide that doesn't require any manpower and initially no more capital investment.
I think you guys have even used the term infinite SKUs.
Yeah.
At one point when you're thinking about the retail studio and how you actually market it out there.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, Frank, let's dive deeper on AI and cut through some of the stuff that's out there. Where are you seeing it actually being used and used successfully?
Well, I'm actually going to pick up on what you said just on productizing. You know, we launched something called Spend, which is really called Stay Package Entitlements, New Dynamic Booking. And really that's about being able to productize and merchandise all of your offerings in a package and have the guest book all of those entitlements, including parking. And then using AI to actually create an itinerary. So knowing the guest's history, what they prefer, what they typically like to, let's say, golf in the morning, have spa in the afternoon, dinner around, and create an itinerary based on that. So AI is really going to assist us. A lot of where we're seeing AI today is a lot of the back of the house. It's more of optimizing pricing. So when you're doing dynamic pricing for room upgrades, right? Looking at what the guest paid, what the current rates are. That's a blind spot for a lot of revenue management systems. Their job is kind of done when they book the reservation. But that point until the guest is in the room, those room upgrades should be dynamically priced. Dynamic availability we talked about for all of your amenities, dynamic pricing. So we're seeing a lot of that process improvement back at the house for staff. You know, we're seeing tech now that a chef can change the price of an item or remove it from the menu. We're doing tech where conversational reservations, conversational ordering for foods. Like in a year or two, you won't be calling, when you call for room service, it'll be AI answering the phone and taking your order, right? So we're just seeing a tsunami of opportunities, to leverage AI, not to replace staff, but to make them better hosts and really free them up from those menial tasks to be better hosts.
Hospitality is about interacting with the guest, and the machine can't do that. So if you get a better understanding of that guest, then you can better engage. Now, I think you summed it up really well there, Frank. And then Jackie, coming back to you, you talked a little bit about AI for scheduling and the HR side. I love your dual role. I love the idea that you're on the HR and the other. Do you have other examples where you guys are using or what you're considering for the future as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we are not only looking at how we're using dynamic pricing in our hotels, but we're also using smart aggregation. You know, one of the things is if you're not getting the traffic to your hotel, or you have those light days and you have those parking spaces sitting empty, the fact is that they're not generating any revenue for you. So we have created, technology that is connecting all the parking aggregators across 10 to 11 parking aggregators, all the big ones that you use, your
Icons,
all of
all
them,
those.
right?
Mhm.
And it connects them. And not only does it drive traffic to your location, but it can be dialed up and dialed down by the humans that know what's happening on the ground. So you're never going to put yourself in a situation where you don't have the spaces you need for the guests, but it's going to also put that on Google so that you can actually choose and select your parking. And that's a differentiator for us, that we can have that. You can book your parking when you're looking up your location and you're driving to that city. And so for us, it's not just about maximizing what's the right price for the parking in that space, but it's also about generating traffic and generating demand for the clients that we serve to increase those margins.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I've heard of people thinking about using EV charging for that same reason,
Yeah.
in terms of putting EV charging into some of those parking lots and generating that traffic to the facility, selling it, like you said, Ethan, a little bit as an attribute. Do you do any of that?
Yeah, we have EV valet. So what we
Love
found
that.
is when you have EV chargers that are just sitting there in lots, right? You either have somebody, right, that plugs in and never comes back and then upsets guests, and then the front desk is dealing with those challenges, or they're getting underutilized. By having EV valet, guests can automatically select that they'd like that, and they get a time window. And then our valet teams actually move the vehicles in and out of the charging.
Mhm.
So it's really that full serve experience and maximizing the investment in EV chargers.
We need EV valet.
Yeah, it's great.
We have chargers at Wyndham Corporate, and it's it's Hunger Games in order who gets them first and who's
You
going
gotta
to
leave your
go out there
meeting
and
to
change
go
them.
and
Oh
fly.
yes,
Yeah, I know the story.
I've seen our general counsel running out there at
We
3
can come
p.m.
to corporate and we can do EV valet
There
for
we
you
go.
right there.
We'll follow up on that. So we started with margin blind spots. Now let's kind of end with margin multipliers. What are some margin multipliers that you think people should start to lean into and be aware of? And I'll flip it around. We'll start with Ethan there.
Yeah, I think a margin multiplier is honestly in your direct booking space, being able to bring relevant offers for consumers that give them confidence to book. And I know I'm going into a distribution topic, but I think it's just really important to ensure that the consumer feels heard and that they feel confident to want to consume whatever it may be, whether it's a spa offer, or it's a room, or it's that gym, right? That whatever they're doing, they can consume it with confidence, whether on it's trip protection or being able to have weather protection. So I'm going there for an event for that Taylor Swift concert, and I want to make sure that my experience is going to be great no matter what. It's a phenomenal margin for the hotelier. It presents a phenomenal offering to the guest, and it ensures that they book with confidence, and you're getting them on that first pass through.
That makes a ton of sense. When we also think of margin multipliers in distribution, when we were backstage, we were talking a little bit about what's going on with MCP and with the aggregators. And I'm going to put you on the spot here, but what's your perspective on that right now, Ethan?
Yeah, my perspective is, right now, major OTAs are definitely going to take this space, right? We're in the first horizon of a major transformation in our industry. However, over time, I do believe that they're going to start working their way down the funnel. And the reality is that major distribution partners are going to be their way to source direct content. And our ability to be able to bring direct content that is beyond the room, that allows consumers to have the offer that they need and they require, to create personalized experiences right there in their AI chatbot. The reality is that I'm no longer going to go from planning a day with my family to a different app to do something else, right? I'm going to just continue using my AI agent who understands my needs, my deepest thoughts, to be able to deliver the experience that I need. Well, the challenge is you got to bring the content to that, right? And so major distribution providers are a key source of that.
And the brands can help provide that. Oh, hey, I lost it. Okay, Frank, what do you think about margin multiplier?
Yeah, I mean, and I'll pick up on that as well. I mean, I think the way guests are now going to search for your hotels is going to be dramatically different. And they're not just going to be searching for a head in bed. They're going to be searching with natural language and saying, I'd like to get away with my wife this weekend in Chicago, and we'd like a hotel that has a spa. We'd like to maybe they have a golf course or what have you. We'd like a dining experience. And through MCP, with technology on the back end that can actually respond to those and be able to come back and say, here's a hotel that has availability in the spa. Here's some suggested treatments, maybe based on my profile and other things. So the way guests are going to be searching will be very different. And the way that we respond as an industry, and not just, head and bed reservations and room rates, is they're going to want to book experiences, and AI will help them find those experiences. So how you present yourself to the world will be very, very important.
That makes sense. And then to round us out, Jackie.
I think one of the most amazing things about GMs is that their focus is on the guest experience. So when I'm talking to them about what your parking rate should be, and their concern is the GSS scores that we see and how it will be received, I will tell you, in all the places where we've put in dynamic pricing, we have one major company that we work with, and we have 22 of their full serve and high-end locations all on dynamic pricing, and they share their GSS data with us. And what we see from that data is that the intersection of the experience and the price is what matters. When the experience matches the price that you are charging for any amenity, it is the thing that will drive guest satisfaction, and you will not see a negative impact on your GSS. If service isn't there, it will suffer. And so for me, we can talk about technology, we can talk about AI, but at the end of the day, nothing replaces the smiles that our associates bring on the drive when you check in and you're tired and you're getting out of your Uber, you're parking your vehicle. How they meet you is the thing that is going to enable us to maximize our margins and get the most out of our asset.
Hospitality is a personal thing.
Always will be.
Absolutely. What's been really interesting to me as we prepared for the panel, and now as we're wrapping it, is how much thought leadership that your vendors or vendor partners actually have. If you're struggling right now and you're out there in the audience and you're saying, well, where can I get some more margin? talk to some of your vendor partners, talk to your PMS provider, talk to your ancillary revenue, talk to your distributor, and say, what are you seeing out there? Can I run a pilot? I'm happy to be one of the first here, and really lean into some of those existing relationships in these leaner times. So my thanks to all of you for your time and preparation on the panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.